Alright guys, so welcome to today's video, and in today's video I will be explaining the concept behind stand pilot abilities, alright? And the sheer heart attack right here is just an example for that, alright? So do not mistake this to be a Killer Queen sheer heart attack tutorial, okay? Because that's not the case. I haven't even made any effort in the sheer heart attack, so the effects, they look like BS, alright? So let's just start with this video. Okay, so if you want to know how to set up your stand right here for attacks or equip, unequip, whatsoever, then check out my JoJo game series, alright, especially the first episodes, because those are the episodes where I'm showing you how to set up a stand for, equip, attacks, whatsoever. Now let me quickly go through this, okay? So you will need two local scripts. One local script is going to be about the controls of the stand, and the other one is going to be about the visualization of all of those effects, alright? So the stand itself, but also the attacks and this sheer heart attack move right here. Now, yeah, so the fact that we have filtering enabled on forces us to use remote events to communicate with the server, alright? So we will need a remote event right here and a server script. And apart from that, we have the sheer heart attack mesh and the Killer Queen stand inside of the replicated storage. Once again, I haven't made them myself, so credits go out to their rightful owners, which have been mentioned in a giveaway video. Alright, so if you're curious about them, go ahead and check it out. So, you may ask, why aren't we fusing both of them together, okay? You could do that, but I would not recommend doing that, because this whole thing right here is about the visualization itself, okay? So this script needs to be in every player. That's important. If it is not in one player, then that player who does not have the script is not able to see the stand and this sheer heart attack and all of the other stuff which would have been contained inside of this, okay? That's the point. If we fuse them together now, then this would mean that this local script, this new fusion of both of them, needs to be in every player as well, okay? But since this one is about the controls and this one is about the visualization, you would automatically put the controls inside of the visualization, okay? So not only would every player be able to see the stand, but the player would also be able to control the stand, okay? And that's a problem. So every player would become this Killer Queen stand user, although we do not want this to happen. And of course you could argue that, yeah, so what about adding checks to it so that not every player is able to use the Killer Queen? That would work as well. You can do that if you want to, but I'm not gonna show you how to do that, okay? So yeah, feel free to do it for yourself. Alright, so let's go through this one. Okay, so this local script is about the controls. So we have the user input service right here, we have this remote event right here. Okay, so we refer to the user input service, and when this input begin event fires, which basically fires when you have done an input, alright? So when I've pressed on the R key, on the F key, G key, T key, U key, whatsoever, alright? So on any of those keys, or on my mouse, for example, or on any other input object, alright? So that can be anything. That can also be your gamepad, your controller, I think. Right, so if an input was done on that, then this event right here is being fired, okay? And when this event fires, we basically receive information about the input, which was done, and something called game processed event, okay? And this game processed event basically tells us whether this input was done while interacting with in-game elements, such as a chat or a shop or whatsoever, or not. And this difference is very important because of that difference, we can conclude whether this input was done on purpose or not. So, was it done while interacting with in-game elements? Then the conclusion would be that, yeah, if that's the case, then the input was not on purpose, because it was because of interaction with any other in-game elements. So, therefore, we have to check whether GP is not the case. Alright, and if that's true, then we move on with the next requirement. And this is basically, yeah, all about checking which key has been pressed. So when the Q key has been pressed, we want to check if there is something inside of our local player's character called Killer Queen stand. That's basically the stand model itself, okay? So if it is not there, then we want to fire server this remote event, telling it to equip it. If it is there, that's basically what the second check right here checks for. Then we want to fire server the remote event with the task to unequip the killer queen. Okay, that's basically how this works. So if your stand, if you have pressed Q and your stand is there, then you want to unequip it. If you press Q and your stand is not there, then you want to equip it. That's basically what what those lines are about. Okay. Now, same thing goes for this one, but this one is a little bit different. All right. So this check right here checks whether you have pressed the E key. Okay. If you have pressed the E key, then we have another check right here, checking for something inside of the workspace which contains your name with a sheer heart attack additional text behind it, okay? And you can basically conclude that this is your sheer heart attack model, okay? So this is the mesh. What happens right here is that we are looking out for the sheer heart attack mesh. So if you have seen the giveaway video, then you know how this move works, okay? So Killer Queen basically throws out the sheer heart attack mesh right here, and you're able to control it and navigate it through the world. And of course, when you're able to control it, then it has to be an existent physical object, and this is the case when it is inside of the workspace, okay? That's the reason why we're checking for it inside of the workspace. So if it does not exist, then we fire server the remote event with the task sheer heart attack, which is nothing more than telling the script to make it existent, okay? So this is basically where the sheer heart attack move begins. Now, the other case would be that this sheer heart attack mesh is already inside of the workspace, means is already existent. And if that's the case, then we want the sheer heart attack to explode. Alright? So pressing E once without having the sheer heart attack equipped before, makes it equipped. So just throws it out into the world, and then you're able to navigate it through. And then when you click E for another time, or press E for another time, then you make it explode, okay? So those are basically the controls, and that's it. So all of those cases right here end in fire serving this remote event. Now let's take a look at this server script right here, because this is where some of the magic happens. So let's move on with this one. So if the task is to equip the Killer Queen, so let's move, where is it? Yeah, down here, up here. Yeah, then we do a fire all clients. That's important, okay? So in order to visualize everything on the client, we have to fire back to the client once we have fire server to the server, all right? So this server right here should only be used for checks, all right? So to check if everything really goes along as planned. So if if the local script did not spoof anything or fool around with anything, you know, so in terms of exploiting maybe. Or also for for things like this, all right? So I would do that on the server's perspective as well. So I've created an int value right here inside of the character, which basically indicates that the Killer Queen stat has been equipped, and this is basically what we are checking here for. So I'm sorry, I have to correct myself. We are not checking for the Killer Queen stat itself, but we are checking for an int value, which is called Killer Queen stat, which basically stands for its stat itself. And could have argued, alright, so why are you checking for an int value and not for a stat itself? And to be honest, I wasn't even sure if this could work out, because we are actually creating the stand or cloning the stand on the client, okay? So I think that it could work out, and I think that it should, alright? But I just want to be safe, and doing it on the server always safer than on the client, in my opinion, alright? So if it is something small like this, then it should be okay, it should be fine, I guess. So this shouldn't make any big difference in terms of lag, performance whatsoever. Alright, so we are basically firing back to all clients once we have a fire server with the task to equip Killer Queen. We fire back to all clients with the task to equip Killer Queen and with the performer of this move, alright? So if you consider this as a move, then this one is the performer, means the person who does this move, and that's important, alright? So we always need to put this performer inside of each fire client. Otherwise, the client, which is now going to visualize this inside of here, does not know who has done this move, and then it could automatically lead to a player who is going to visualize this attack becoming the move maker, or the person who has done the move, all right, even when that's not the case. And yeah, that's important. That's the reason why I always put player inside of here, because the person who has fire summit is also the performer of the attack. All right, so equip Killer Queen. There we go. This is basically where our Killer Queen is being equipped. And yeah, so I have made a whole series about this, okay? I recommend you to check it out. I'm just gonna skip through this, to be honest, because the focus is more on things like, yeah, spawn the sheer heart attack and navigating it through, you know? So check this out on my JoJo game series, especially in the first episodes. Same goes for this one, so for this unequipped one, alright? So if we take a look at this right here, then you'll see that I'm once again fire clienting to all clients with the task to unequip and with the performer who's going to unequip. And right here we are basically checking for this int value right here instead of the character, and if it's there then we want to destroy it, alright? That's basically what happens right here. I'm gonna skip both of them because it would just unnecessarily, yeah, consume time. And I've told you, if you're interested in knowing how to equip a stand, then check out my JoJo game series, alright? So, let's move on with this one, okay? So, sheer heart attack. So, when E has been pressed for the first time, then there's a fire server which leads to this to happen, alright? So, what exactly happens right here? We are first of all referring to the humanoid of our player and changing the walk speed and jump height to 0, which makes the player unable to move at first. Now, apart from that, we are once again fire clienting to all clients with the task to spawn sheer heart attack and the performer once again. Okay, so we'll get back to this soon. The thing, or the problem I personally saw in this is to replicate it on the client, okay? So this one is especially something I have mainly done on the server, to be honest, even though when that's not good. So as you can see, I have referred to its sheer heart attack right here. I've cloned it, okay? I've gave it a name, so basically the performance name with this additional sheer heart attack text next to it. Then I've put it inside of the workspace, and I've set the C-frame to something in front of the player, alright? Now, I've also added a body position inside of it. So the max force is mafuge, and the position is its normal position, okay? So something in front of the player. So this body position right is going to be responsible to move around, or to make this heart attack move around, okay? I could have also used a body velocity, but I've decided to use a body position. So next thing is this body gyro. This one is responsible to navigate this into directions, all right, to rotate this sheer heart attack, and yeah, just to, you know, rotate it and change the directions while moving. So we are creating it and we are putting it inside of our sheer heart attack mesh. We are setting the max torque to mafuge once again. We're setting D and P to those numbers right here, all right? And yeah, let's take a look at this one, all right? So when this fire clan happens, so what happens right here? So basically, we are playing a tween, and this tween, so the thing we are tweening is the weld of our killer queen stand. That's important. So basically the weld which welds the stand to our character, okay? So we are now welding, we are now tweening this one, and we are basically tweening the position. I think that this one makes the stand appear in front of our player, all right? So this one appeals more to this killer queen spawning animation thing, all right? That's basically, yeah, that's the reason for this. And then we are playing this tween, and we are making all of the animations stop on the stand. So we are looping through all of the playing animation tracks of our animation controller of our Killer Queen stand. Alright, that's basically what happens right here. So we are basically getting all of the playing animations by referring to the animation controller instance of our Killer Queen and applying this get playing animation tracks function onto it. And we are stopping every animation on it just to load a new one. So in order to load an animation, you have to refer to this animation controller once again, load the animation, and while loading it, you have to put the animation you want to load inside of those brackets. And you want to make the loader play, alright? So we are disabling every animation before playing a new one. And then we are setting up a coroutine right here. And we are waiting until this animation, this new animation right here, has been stopped. And if it has been stopped, then we want to tween this belt of our Killer Queen back behind our character, so that the stand regains its default position, which is basically behind of the player. All right, and we're going to make the tween play, and the second loader right here, second animation we're going to load is our default idling animation, and we are playing this of course as well. Now this is important, alright? So this part right here is very important because this one is about the controls of our sheer heart attack. And this is where it becomes very, very interesting for you if you also want to do other pilot ability moves, okay? So if you're replicating visuals like creating a stand or shockwaves or whatsoever. So if you have those kind of visuals and if you're replicating them on every client rather than on a server, then this is important, alright? So I've told you that once we fire client, we also pass the performer of this attack, okay? And this is important now. So next check is going to check whether the performer itself is the player who is currently the holder of this script, alright? So every player holds the script, of course, but we want to check if in this moment right here, the performer is this player, is this certain player. And if that is the case, then this player right here becomes able to navigate the sheer heart attack. And let me explain you how, alright? So we are referring to the user input service right here and to the camera, alright? Now we are creating another coroutine. So this coroutine basically makes, so I haven't explained what this is about, yeah. So the coroutine basically makes the code inside of here run apart from the rest, alright? So this wait right here does not interrupt the further progress of this one, alright? So it just recognizes this, but then still moves on with this while waiting for this, okay? So this usually would have paused the whole script until this wait is over, but this does not happen since this is in the coroutine, alright? The same thing happens right here, and we do that because we are having this repeat wait right here. That's the reason why. And we have this one as well, alright? So this while loop. Alright, so let's move on. So we are basically waiting, so repeat wait until the sheer heart attack has been spawned, okay? So this is optional, but I recommend doing this because it could happen that this code right here, so this whole code, runs faster. So you have to imagine that this fire all client happens first before spawning this heart attack, alright? So what if this one, so this fire all client and this on client event right here is faster or reaches this point right here, let's say this one, faster before the script reaches this one after fire client, alright? So it could be possible, but it could be not. I don't think that it is possible, but never say no, alright? So that's the reason why I have just added this repeat right here, alright? So this is optional. You could also add wait 2 or wait 3. So wait 2 seconds, wait 3 seconds, or wait 1 second. And I think that it will, or it should do as well, but as I've told you, I've just added this, alright? So we are waiting until the sheer heart attack spawns, and if it does, then we want our camera subject to become the sheer heart attack, and then we basically set the C-frame to our sheer heart attack C-frame with some C-frame angles because the natural position of the sheer heart attack is wrong, alright? So when I basically just equal our C-frame with the sheer heart attack C-frame, I'm not facing the direction in which the sheer heart attack face, so the front face is facing, but the back or the bottom is facing to, alright? Which is totally wrong, and therefore I had to rotate this. Down here, we are setting up another variable called holding, which is false by default, and we are having this input again event right here once again. So I've explained input and GPE, and this time we are checking whether the key which can be pressed is W. So if the key which can be pressed is W and holding is false, then we are setting holding to true. Then we are having a loop right here, right? And this loop runs as long as holding is true. And what happens inside of this loop? So we are basically fire servering this remote event with move shear heart attack. So this is the task. And when we take a look into this one, move shear heart attack. So what happens right here? We are basically checking if the shear heart attack is even existent and if it has a body position. And if those two requirements are met, then we are setting the body position of the shear heart attack to its current position, so to its current C frame, multiplied with another C frame, which makes it move to the front by 5 studs. And then we convert this whole thing into a position because everything inside of those brackets is a C frame, alright? So it is easier for me to script this whole thing in C frames, then converting it into vector free, than to edit it as in vector free. I hope that you understand it, alright? So this is just about yeah, being able to easily edit the position and to just have a better idea on what is going on, okay? So once you find yourself to be a advanced scripter, then you will hopefully understand this. Alright, yeah. So we are basically while we are holding our shear heart attack, it moves in front by 5 studs. Okay? So when does this holding end? So this holding ends down here. So input ended is the exact opposite to input began. So when you let go of a key, then once again input and GPE, we are checking for all of these. And if the key which has been let go of is W and holding is true, which it is when you have gone through this, then holding becomes false, which makes this loop end. Okay, that's it. So some of you might ask, alright, so when you have made W the key, doesn't this interfere with the movement of your character? So when you press W, your character basically moves forward. Does this interfere somehow? And it does not, because we have set the walk speed and the jump power to 0 earlier, if you can remember. All right, that's the reason why we have done that. Yeah, why we have done that. All right, so down here we are creating another coroutine. I don't know if you should create a coroutine and a coroutine, but that's basically what I've done right here, and I haven't made any bad experiences yet. And we have another while loop right here, which basically runs as long as the shear heart attack exists. All right, and we are waiting 0.05 seconds. You can remove that if you want to. And down here, we are checking if the shear heart attack exists once more. I'm gonna be explaining why later on, but we are checking for it. All right, and if it exists, then we are setting the body gyro C frame to new C frame, which is composed of the shear heart attack's current position and with the direction of our camera. All right, so this is basically how you do it. So the camera's X and Z direction, they influence the direction of our shear heart attack, but it doesn't matter if you look up and down. All right, so this doesn't matter. That's basically why we have put a 1 into the y-axis of this vector 3 right here. So let me explain you why I've checked for this one once again, although we have already a whole requirement right up here. So what happens often to me when I use this is that when we are about to delete the shear heart attack, for example, all right, so we are about to delete it. Okay, so let's say that you're currently in lines 110, all right, and your shear heart attack still exists. Then you are here, so this line, it still exists. Then you're here, it does exist. Then you're here, it does exist. You're here, it does exist. You're here, it does exist. And then you move back up and it still exists. And now, while you're here, it doesn't exist. So In this momentum, you have just decided to delete it, alright? So you have unequipped your stand, you have pressed E whatsoever, okay? So you have gotten rid of it. Now, if we do not have this check right here, then it would just move on by trying to refer to it, and then we would run into an error. And that's the reason why, right? So an additional check right here basically prevents errors from happening. Errors which are caused because the sheer heart attack wasn't deleted up here, and was deleted shortly after. All right, that's just the reason why. Now, one last thing is this explode sheer heart attack right here, and but before we do that, let me quickly emphasize something about this pilot ability move. All right, so this pilot ability right here. So two very important things, or yeah, all of the important stuff is basically right here. Okay, so the most important one is that you're able to move forward via body position or body velocity. In this case, we're using body position. All right, so I've made this holdable. I've explained this, so that's important. Second one, or to adjust the direction, we are using a body gyro, and we are editing the C frame to wherever or to wherever our mouse, no, our camera is looking to. I'm sorry. All right, so those parts right here, they are important. Okay. Now, if we have pressed E another time and our task is to explode sheer heart attack, then we are basically checking if it is there. If it is there, then we want to anchor it so that it does not run away or anything. Then we are creating an explosion inside of the sheer heart attack. We are setting the position of this explosion to our sheer heart attack's position. We are waiting 1 second and then destroying the sheer heart attack. And then we are fire clienting our performer, which is also this player who has fire served, to the task to revert the camera. And we are reverting the player's walk speed and jump height. All right, and let me explain you how revert cam works. So if we take a look inside of here, revert cam basically, yeah, it just reverts the camera subject back to the humanoid and the camera C frame back to the character's head's C frame, and that's it. So that's this whole thing, alright? I hope that this was understandable, and I hope that you're able to understand this concept and take this concept and apply it into other stand abilities, other stand pilot abilities, guys. Now, with that being said, thanks for listening or thanks for watching, however. Leave a like, subscribe, share this video with all of your friends, leave me feedback in the comment section, guys. Take care and see you in the next video.